Any thoughts on Juliana?
Yes, I was I don't want to say surprised because I feel like Juliana has been like this very carefree spirit the entire season. Um
Mhm.
but I was a little surprised when they asked like, "Do you have any questions for Grant?" And he said she was like, "No. This is his process. I wanted to give him grace to do
At the
um
reunion, at the finale
yeah,
part,
yeah,
the last.
yeah. And I felt like it was interesting because as a partner, right? Like I wouldn't want my person to stand 10 toes down
Mhm.
behind me, especially in such an intense situation. So I applauded her for that. I applauded her
Mhm.
for we're not about to get into this nitty-gritty. I'm not about to
For sure.
participate in y'all dogging my man out for his decision. He chose me and it is what it is. So I was like, kudos to you, Juliana. At the
Yeah.
same time, because you guys aren't on a TV show and we want to know what the process was like, I was like, just give us a little something. Like, what were those conversations like? How did he share this with you? And how do you feel having watched it back now?
Yeah, yeah. That's what somebody was noting, like how the it wasn't something that was directly asked of her. Like, how do you feel about his, situation with, Latia and how it was all played out? But I feel for her a little bit, like, because I feel like she didn't ask to be put in that situation. But you have to be, like I said before, you have to be a little kind of devastated watching it because it's like your kids, your, potential kids. All these folks are watching this and you have to stomach that, that's kind of
Right.
like unfortunate.
I was
But yeah.
wondering what her parents thought watching it
Mm.
back.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what her dad, because he was like, I don't, no problem, not my problem anymore. So I feel like there were words that were said. You know what I mean? Like I feel like if I was her, I probably would say like, no, I don't feel any type of way. I feel like he literally had people wonder what their man's gonna do with women out here in the world, and he literally had 20, 25 beautiful women, and he still picked me even if it was difficult at the end. He made sure he was sure and he picked me. And so I feel comfortable in that. I understood what the process was. Like I would do something like that. She kind of seemed to
Yeah.
be on that side of that. But it's just she's dealt a difficult hand, so it's
Yeah.
not really anything she can do
She
other than
is
that.
it is a difficult hand. At the same time, I was thinking in my mind like, is this a representation of Juliana repeating old patterns?
Mm,
Right? Like because she mentioned I think at some point that she struggled with staying with somebody who wasn't good for her and like trying to get him to, I think she said like pick her or choose her or something to that extent. I
show up,
could
probably
be,
show up in
yeah,
a
I
way that
could
wasn't.
be chopping and screwing that, but that's what I had got from what she said. And so I'm wondering if this idea of being chosen out of 25 women kind of like fed
Valid.
that, yeah,
Yeah.
validated that for her in a sense. And it's like, well, I'm just gonna be okay with it because he chose me, so it is what it is. When how someone chooses you also matters. It's not just about being chosen. And so I was like, are we repeating old patterns, Juliana, just a little bit? Like, is this still a time? Yes, it was the
Mhm.
process, and so we're going to acknowledge that this was the process, but is there also space in your own personal development to hold Grant accountable as well for letting Latia down like that, right? Like, because this is still how he chose to treat the other women in
Yeah.
this process. And
Yeah.
also the other women's family, because again, he had this conversation with Latia's mother. And so, was there some conversations around accountability for that instead of, well, I was chosen, so
Yeah.
hello, like,
No, that's real. That's very real. I thank you for bringing up that point because too too many times it doesn't happen. Like, people be like, "Oh, that's how he treated you," or "That's how he treated her." Like, and it's like, no, that's him.
that's
So
him.
address it. Address it and be clear with him about it. So yeah.